Konnichiwa, watashi mo Justin Morris-san. I'm here today in my hometown of Hobart in Tasmania. I want to talk a little bit about my life, which I have been very lucky because I have something in my life that makes me smile, and that is riding my jitensha. But I also have something in my life which I mainly want to talk about in this video, and that is living with the constant and consistent challenge of 1型糖尿病. I was diagnosed with 1型糖尿病 24 years ago, and I came to know what is bad about living with this condition and what we can actually positively achieve in our life despite having this constant challenge we have to deal with. So why don't you come for a ride with me and I can chat a bit about my experience with this disease. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes in the year 1996, and I remember just after I was diagnosed hearing many things about what I cannot do living with diabetes. I remember hearing all the negative things in my life that diabetes was going to mean I could not achieve. But it was a couple of weeks or months after I was diagnosed that I actually learnt a very important lesson about having type 1 diabetes in my life. My doctor told me about two very important role models in my life. One was named Stephen Renouf. He was a champion rugby player for Australia, and another guy called Stephen Redgrave who won an Olympic gold medal whilst living with type 1 diabetes. These two Stephens both had type 1 diabetes, and they made me realize there is so much more I can achieve than I cannot achieve despite having this extra challenge in my life. These two role models acted like a spark for me, a spark for my inspiration. Those two Stephens worked for me to spark my inspiration. But my passion was not playing rugby or rowing a boat, but what I did have was the bicycle, and the bicycle made me smile. That smile became the motivation I needed to make that spark of inspiration a reality. I was able to work hard for many years and achieve my dream to be a professional bike rider, which I got to do for 5 years. But I want to make it clear, type 1 diabetes doesn't mean you can only be able to be a professional athlete or in sports. There are many amazing people who have conquered the challenges of type 1 diabetes and achieved amazing things. The former Prime Minister of England lived with type 1 diabetes. There are many musicians who live with type 1 diabetes, and there are many famous actors and actresses who live with type 1 diabetes. So whatever your passion is, whatever makes you smile, you know it is possible to do at a high level despite the extra challenge of type 1 diabetes. So that second ingredient for living a successful life with type 1 diabetes is finding that smile that leads to the motivation. So I now had the inspiration and I had the motivation to live a happy life despite my type 1 diabetes. But the most important ingredient still remained. To achieve anything worthwhile in life is never possible just alone. You need some good support and team around you, and especially true for us who live with diabetes. I am so lucky I have an amazing Oksan, and I also have amazing family and friends who have helped me on my journey to live successfully with type 1 diabetes. And also an amazing healthcare team who have really enabled me to get the most out of my life. So make sure you ask for support from your friends, from your family, and the amazing healthcare team that I know is there in Japan because I have met many of them and seen the amazing things they are doing with type 1 diabetes summer camps, amazing programs for people with diabetes, amazing intellectual support, and amazing achievements by many people who live with diabetes in Japan. So use your support team. They enable your life with type 1 diabetes. So remember, you need the spark of inspiration, you need some motivation, and utilize your team, your support network. They really enable you to get the most out of life. I believe those are the three most important things to focus on when living life with type 1 diabetes. I know sometimes it can be very, very difficult and very, very challenging. But remember, it is just that. It is challenging. It is not a barrier. It need not stop you from achieving what you set out to achieve in your life.